Is UFC 322 the best, most stacked card ever? Let's look at the card together and determine why it's definitely the best card of this year and why it could turn out to be one of the best cards ever. Now, first of all, before we even look at the fights, people will come and say, how can it be the best card ever? Look at this and this card from 8 years ago. I don't know, maybe UFC 205, McGregor vs Alvarez or whatever. Look at all those names. Yeah, most of those names though became names in the process. If you see, let's just say hypothetically, Dustin Poirier on a prelim 15 years ago, that does not mean that the card at that moment was very special because of those names, because Poirier wasn't the name yet. The people have to become a name first in order to make it that special, right? And we have a couple of contenders for that on that card. So let's just look at the card overall. We have had very lackluster cards in the last couple of weeks. Now, the event opens up with the fight that most casuals will think like, what the hell is going on here? But at the end of the day, Makhachev could turn out to be kind of a star, even though I think he has a lot of holes in this game. But he's 10-0. He's the guy that made his Contender Series debut and then fought like a couple of days later after the Contender Series fight in UFC 320, I believe, or something like that. No, it was the same card as Hamzat fought in, right? Anyways, 319, I believe. So now he's back with his second UFC fight, the first real fight with a real camp behind it and whatever. And he opens up the card against Eric Makhachev. And then in the second fight, that is probably, in my opinion, a pee break after the first fight. You don't really have to take a pee, so that's a pee break. But Fatma Klein is, of course, an up-and-coming prospect. Angela Hill is kind of a gatekeeper for the women's strawweight division, who has a name. Angela Hill is not a nobody. She headlined fight nights before and all of that, so should be an interesting pee break. And then you have Pat Sabatini against Chepe Mariscal. I mean, especially Chepe Mariscal always brings the fight. Of course, two guys that will probably never win a belt, but should be a fun scrap at featherweight that I think you can look forward to. Then Kyle Daukaus, who in my opinion could deserve an award for Fighter of the Year. Of course, Merab will get that if he wins against Piotr, but away from the champions, Kyle Daukaus could be the Fighter of the Year. I mean, he got cut from the UFC like 3 years ago or something like that. Ever since, has only won titles at, what was it, CFFC or something like that. Came back to the UFC, now is finishing people in the UFC as well. Like, he looks like a world beater in there. He looks so improved and gets another gatekeeper, just like the Angela Hill fight, in Jeremy Mershard, who is a UFC veteran. I think most submission wins in UFC middleweight history. I think most wins in UFC middleweight history and all of that. Like a true veteran, a journeyman record, of course, but still a true veteran and a true test for Kyle Daukaus. Should be a fun fight. Those are all names that we know. Those are all guys that are on main cards of fight nights and all of that. Those are not like random ass names like we got in the last couple of weeks, right? And especially guys like Kyle Daukaus, guys like Makhachev, even though, as I said, I see a lot of holes in this game. Even guys like Fatma Klein could turn out to be the next big thing. You never know. Could turn out to be champions or Dustin Poirier-esque fighters, right? Then talking about contenders or future prospects, Malcolm Wellmaker, he's undefeated, knocking everyone out, and he faces Cody Haddon, another guy that's at least in the UFC undefeated, only has one loss on his record. That was quite a while ago, and looks to be an amazing prospect as well. So you have two young bucks, or two up-and-comers at least. I don't think Wellmaker is that young anymore, but a very interesting fight to open up the official prelims. Before that were the early prelims, right? This should be a banger scrap that you should definitely look forward to. Then the first squad is getting what they asked for in watching Tracy Cortez fighting against Aaron Blanchfield. Aaron Blanchfield headline fight nights before. Aaron Blanchfield is on the, both are actually at the edge of a title shot, right? The winner of this fight most definitely fights for the flyweight belt next. So this should be an interesting fight, and in my opinion, for the women's division, a high-level fight. Those would, on every other card, normally be on the main card. Those are two big names. You know what I mean? Then you get Roman Kopylov against Gregory Rodriguez, a banger of a stand-up fight. I mean, Gregory Rodriguez, of course, is a very, very highly rated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but he has phenomenal boxing, looks like Barack Obama, and he loves to throw down. He doesn't really go to the ground unless he has to. He always goes out swinging. Either he gets knocked out or his opponent gets knocked out, and Roman Kopylov probably has a bitter taste in his mouth after his last loss to Paulo Costa. Phenomenal kickboxer, so many hack kick knockouts. Watch out for a banger scrap that, in my opinion, someone will go to sleep in. And then the headliner of the prelims, the featured prelim, not the future, is the future.
Is the future?
Yes. The featured prelim is Bo Nickel against Rodolfo Vieira. I mean, Bo Nickel needs no introduction. Even though he lost his last fight, he still is a star because of all the history he has and whatever. One of the best wrestlers we ever had in the UFC, and Rodolfo Vieira will be a true test for him in an interesting matchup because Rodolfo Vieira is improving all the time with his striking, and he is, if you listen to all the BJJ freaks, the most credentialed BJJ black belt we ever had in the UFC. His submission game is second to none, and in his BJJ career, he actually was famous for being a wrestling heavy guy with a lot of top pressure, so should be interesting to see how this fight goes and how Bo Nickel approaches that fight strategy-wise, right? Very interesting fight in my opinion. Then the main card is absolutely bonkers. I mean, you have Beneil Dariush against Benoit Saint-Denis. Benoit Saint-Denis is one of the most entertaining fighters on the roster. He always brings fireworks, he always brings chaos. Beneil Dariush, of course, an absolute legend and veteran who's had so many. It was on a 9-fight win streak at one time. People said Islam Makhachev is ducking him and all of that. Of course, he had a couple of losses since then. Got knocked out by Charles Oliveira and by Arman Sarukian. But he only lost to the best. Last time out, humbled Renato Moicano. Well, humbled, it was a rather close decision, but you get what I'm saying. Moicano, on the other hand, beat Benoit Saint-Denis as dominant as you can beat him. So if you go do MMA math, it's an easy fight to predict. If you know anything about the sport, you know anything about the two fighters, you know that fight is as close as it gets, and it will be so interesting to see how this fight progresses. So this is a banger of a fight that I'm looking forward to. By the way, all fights on the main card are easily headliners of any fight night, and this is quite special. Then, the fight that I probably look forward to the most, other than the main event, Leon Edwards against Carlos Prates. I mean, Carlos is a fan favorite, smoking cigarettes all day, knocking people out in the nighttime. And Leon Edwards, of course, former champion, defended his belt against Kamaru Snoozman, against Colby Covington and all those guys. So pretty high name value for the second fight of the main card, right? Should be a striking war. The first pure striker that Leon Edwards faces since like 5 years or something like that. So I love this fight. I love to see how this fight plays out, and absolute banger. Then Sean Brady, who in my opinion deserves a title shot because he's admitted the aforementioned Leon Edwards in his last out, and is a gangster of a guy for taking a fight that makes no sense for him. Why should he just beat the official #1 contender, or was #1 contender in Leon Edwards? Why does he not have a name on Sean Brady's number on? Okay, he's number 2 ranked now. Should be number 1 in my opinion, but he's number 2 ranked now, probably Bilal's number 1 because just lost the belt. But Sean Brady should be the #1 contender in my opinion, and instead of waiting for his title shot, he said, you know what, F it, I'm taking a fight against 8th ranked Michael Morales, who Michael Morales has good wins, but he hasn't really beaten anyone that makes you go, oh my goodness. He has good wins, but in my opinion, he has not a win that should make a Sean Brady go, hey, let me fight that kid. I see a lot of benefits there. But of course, if Sean Brady beats Michael Morales, he becomes undeniable. Michael Morales is on a tear, 18-0, finishing nearly everyone he fights. He's a absolute ginormous welterweight and should be a fun scrap between a predominant striker and a predominant grappler, right? Very fun fight. Then, co-main event. One of the greatest female fights I've ever seen. Honestly, I don't think I've ever been looking more forward to a female fight ever. Of course, Joanna against Zhang was an amazing fight, but I did not look forward to it as much as this fight. The two, in my opinion, the two GOATs of women's MMA. F Amanda Nunes. She's absolute nonsense in my opinion compared to those two. Of course, she beat Valentina, but Valentina is way undersized. Was way undersized here. So in my opinion, the two greatest females to ever grace our sport throw down at each other, and they're both at a similar age. Of course, they're both at the latter stage of their career. I think Weili is like, it doesn't say that, 35, and she's like 36 or something like that. But this should be an absolute banger. Two completely, perfectly well-rounded fighters. If you built the ultimate fighter, those two would come out. I mean, they have barely any weaknesses, and this should be a banger of a fight that I cannot wait to watch. And then the main event, JDM against Makhachev. So many unknowns, so many questions. Such an interesting stylistic matchup. I absolutely can't wait for the fight, and I do believe this could turn out to be a major, a fight that goes into history. Either because Islam becomes a 2-weight division champion, makes easy work of JDM, or JDM being the first one ever since 10 years to finish Islam Makhachev and kind of end the Dagestani reign and whatever. Like, this fight will be talked about for many years to come, in my opinion, wherever this fight might go. So this card looks to be definitely the best card of this year, no doubt about that, and could turn out to be, depending on how the fight goes, of course. If we get only decisions, people will forget about it again, but this fight card could turn out to be one of the greatest fight cards we've ever had, going down at Madison Square Garden this weekend, you guys, and I can't freaking wait to watch it. I will host a watch along on Twitch probably. Check out my Twitch channel. Let's watch the fights together, guys, and write your favorite fight in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate that. Check out my merch, bloodshop.net, cool pieces like that. Link in bio. Check it out, you guys. Stay bloody. Until the next one. Bye bye. Bloodsport out.